All right, guys, let's get going. I'm going to share my screen. That would be helpful, I guess. Share entire screen. All right, key updates. AgPix, we have finished integrating the AI into the website. So it's kind of cool. You upload a photograph now, and it kind of writes a caption for you in keywords. So that makes life really easy for us on the back end, which is huge. The plan moving forward now is that we are going to launch it this winter. I'm looking for a partner, or the gentleman I'm working with out of Green Bay, Wisconsin, who I've known for years, who's got some bandwidth. And I'm talking to him because he's got some much more computer experience than I do, but he knows the photography world. Who we're negotiating right now to bring him on board to help with day-to-day management of the website and working with getting photos uploaded. So that's the plan, the big plan. And sometime this fall, we're going to start going live. So the AI model works. The programming is almost done. I got to do a little bit more on the website. Yep, but beyond that, we're basically there. Part of the component on this is still I have the means with the website to offer the ability for you each individually to have a separate website. You'd have to come up with your own URL address, which isn't expensive or costly, but I wouldn't charge you for that. So the question is, I know, like I know you have your own website, but for some of the others who may not, or maybe they don't mind having a second website that's dedicated to stock photography. If you're interested, let me know, and then I can have you guys set up to use the platform. And when you upload your photographs to that website, then it's easy for us just to grab them and move them into AgPix, so they can be used on both sites. So in other words, you're not uploading them to multiple websites. In other words, you don't upload them to AgPix and then you don't upload them to your individual websites. So that's the benefit of that. All the keywording, all the stuff you do to it, all the organization will apply when the AgPix goes live. If you're not interested, that's not a big deal, but I'd offer it to you. Sometimes people want to have separate websites that don't, and messages that don't conflict with each other. Addison, you're not exactly in stock photography per se, right? But you do have, you do the marketing and you do the cal sales. So that's an example there. There's some other people in our group, one in particular down in Great Falls who doesn't, she focuses on wedding photography and portraiture, stuff. And so this is just a side. So for her to have, agriculture related photographs on our website would be a real conflict of brands. So for her, it makes sense. But for some of the other you, it might make sense too. So just offline, send me an email if you're interested in having your own website or testing with the software. And by the way, I want to emphasize, you'll be able to have your own colors, your own everything. So, it's not like your website's going to look like mine or going to look like AgPix. The photo software is going to look similar, but you can configure it, any way you want. So, again, offline, let me know if you're interested, and then I'll pluck one of you to try it out, first to get to, see how you like it, and then I'll bring everybody else on one at a time to, get it going. Because there's been some, I've been dealing with a lot of photos coming in, so I want to make sure that it makes it easier for me to handle them. So I want to make sure that my preferred way of working with them is until we get ag picks up and running, is for you to create a Google Drive folder and put them there, and then send me an email notifying me that they've been uploaded, and then use, if you can, in the subject line, if you put include the customer's name and the subject and then the date using, just the year first, month, and then the date would be very helpful. It makes it easier for me to find stuff. So to use an example, if it was like, let's say Distinctly Montana Magazine, that would go first. If it was an article that was related to, fly fishing, it's an article that, because there's going to be, some of these customers will be, multiple jobs for customers. That's what the subject would be, and then the date. Or I don't care that it's exactly like this, but just so I can search, for stuff on email based on customer and the subject, and what the photographs are, what the subject of the photographs are, and then date is helpful too, I guess. And that's the date when you took them, not when you're sending the email. That would be most helpful if you guys could help with that. With regard to Montana Photo Tours, I've been approached by someone I know out of Great Falls, Montana, who is interested in partnering with us with Montana Photo Tours, which is great. I'm working out the details with them now. They would handle the back end, like with regard to organization, websites, travel arrangements, some of the itinerary stuff, and then we would be responsible for helping with leveraging contacts and providing personnel, people like you, to be there for the events and being paid, to do so, and that sort of thing. So we've got some conference calls over the next couple of months, and that's kind of exciting. We're not exactly sure where we're going to roll out photo tours, but just to give you a primer again, based on, let's see, let me go here to here and pull up, let's see, maps. Here we go. Hey, Alexis.
Hey, Todd.
So, and some of these are turned off. So, so we're in the process of plotting what tours we're going to go after first and what lodging we're going to provide. So 2024, I'll turn these off. We're going to start with a cowboy country tour because that's where we have the most contacts and the most interests. There's a hunting lodge that we're going to use to put our guests up at, and to do, it's not going to be just, going out and photographing cowboys. It'll be like a group setting for like 4 or 5 days, and there'll be an opportunity to demonstrate, some Photoshop techniques with the people, and and do the campfire thing and the group meal thing and that sort of stuff. So that's the first one. The other one is to do White Sulphur Springs or possibly Craig, a fly fishing one as well. We would go there because there's a great place to house people and give it a sense of adventure. These are situations where we want to make it seem like we're more rural than we really are. We're going to live up that angle a little bit. So we do want to take them into the backcountry a little bit to do some of these. Now, preliminarily for 2025, it's out, but this is where we're going to focus on next year. There's going to be a few more added to this, but right now, we're going to do add an Indian country one out at the Fort Belknap and Rocky Boy reservations. We'd like to do one basically based out of Williston, North Dakota, which we call Abandoned Prairies. Up in this neck of the area, like from Minot Air Force Base north, and then into this direction at part of Montana, there are so many abandoned old beautiful churches, schoolhouses, buildings, homesteads, and stuff that just all over the countryside out here. And it's just a beautiful place to, if you're into abandoned photography, it's just such a great place to do that. I'm not sure if that interests you, Addison. If you're interested in that, let me know offline. But this is just a really neat area for that kind of stuff. Then we're working with the people at the Bucking Horse Sale in Miles City, doing one there. And then in this part down in Ekalaka and this neck of the woods, we've got a old camp down there where we would host the guests and we would be doing nighttime photography. This one's a little more specialized. I think we're going to bring in another photographer just for that class because that's something I guess I don't do every day. And there's a nuance, to that type of astrophotography and nighttime, the star trails, star photography, astronomy photography, that sort of thing. But this place is chosen because it's super dark, one of the darkest places in the continental United States. And there's some great land formations that you can use in the foreground, from Capitol Rock to the Medicine Rocks State Park and the salt, what do they call it? I think they call them the chalk cliffs right through this area. So this is just a great spot for that one. And then do one that would be based out of Cook City, we think, or Red Lodge along the Beartooth Highway. It would take around the same time that the buffalo are rutting in Lamar Valley. And we would split between two campsites, between Red Lodge and the ranger station owned by the Yellowstone Institute right in Lamar Valley. And another one is do a cowboy tour again, but this one would be in the autumn. So the one in the spring that we talked about earlier would be more for when they're branding cattle, and this one would be more trailing them and stuff. Now we would do an actual a different one that would be more tuned to like a cattle drive. And there's a couple places, and if you have ideas in this stuff, the reason I go through this with you guys, so if you have ideas, right, and there's something out there that I'm not thinking about that you think people would be really interested in. There's a horse drive. I didn't know they did that anymore, but Miranda turned me on to that lasts a couple days down near Broadus. And then there's and the ones I'm familiar with are north of Malta. They've got like a long cross-country cattle drive that lasts 3 or 4 days up there. And then there's one that they do in Chinook that comes from the Canadian border down to Chinook and then down into the Bear Paws. That's a multi-day one. So we haven't decided where that one would be, but those are the ones after that. And then beyond, you can see the other opportunities which we haven't explored very yet. To everything from I told you about the cattle drive to a Montana wildlife tour, which photographing elk near Slippery Ann, buffalo at Fort Belknap, and prairie dogs, and there's some waterfowl out in that area that are easy to find and locate stuff. Then we would do an equine boot camp, bring in there's some very famous equine photographers we would bring into probably Billings, I think, somewhere in that area. Bighorn Canyon, do one that's more Yellowstone National Park centric. One in Paradise Valley, which would be kind of a slice of Montana. Everything from fly fishing to scenery to abandoned stuff. I mean, the whole 9 yards. Just a lot of cool things between Livingston and Gardner. Wildlife, whole 9 yards. Freeze Out Lake, railroad tour. There's some great spots in this area here for photographing railroads, and I gotta tell you, railroad guy, aficionados are really hardcore. So that's why that's kind of on there. Talking with the people at the state still about doing something down Dutton Ranch. That's becoming more and more like a possibility. And then we do one out in the Palouse of Eastern Washington. So if any of these, like I said, entertain you, if you think of other things and they don't have to be in Montana, obviously, but we want them as close to Montana as possible. if it's outside of Montana, we're probably not going to do it right away. We're going to focus on the stuff within the state. And we'll just gradually start adding these tours. And your role in that is, again, we'll need people to be there working with the photographers. We need you to, you can own some of these tours. I mean, if you go out and help us photograph the stuff in advance, so we've got nice art for it. It's just, a quick way for you to, earn an extra buck, and to, a nice buck, by the way. It's quite lucrative, and to also, learn as you go as well. So there'll be a lot of opportunities for you if you guys are interested. So there's that. I'm going to be setting up this winter, for those of you who are interested, a real estate photography website. We focus on agriculture, but a lot of the tools we have and the abilities are, there's a lot of money out there in the real estate realm. And so I'm literally going to set up a website, for all of you. And I need to know, when we get to that point, which of you guys are interested in, doing that on the side. Because it's a nice place to like fill in some gaps with regard to real estate photography. Now, at least one or two of you are already doing that, so I'm not going to be poaching customers from you in that regard. You own your territory, so I'm not going to try to do that. But for those of you who are looking for gigs to kind of fill in the gaps and stuff, let me know. Most of these are going to be photographing like ranch spreads, and that sort of thing. There's good opportunity there for earning an income as well. And then those photographs you take potentially can be also used for stock photography, because some of these are places that haven't really been seen by many human eyes, and so there's probably many great opportunities for photography on some of these locations. Harvest, of course, we're in the middle of it. I don't know if any of you have been making any harvest shots or not. I hope so. Again, instead of wheat, if you can shoot barley, that's going to do you better. That means you'll get photographs that'll be licensed on a regular basis through the Montana Department of Agriculture. If you are making pulse shots, harvest, those are also big right now, and I'll get into that a little bit. So we got another customer in that realm as well. Be asking around if you enjoy photography and you want to make photography and you want stuff that's going to be licensed as stock photography, and you want to get some sales that, here like right away, then, go out and you shoot when you got a free moment, when there's nice light and nice scenery and stuff. It's a great way to make some money. As far as customers, I had another conference call with this time with More People for Benefits. They're the healthcare provider in Great Falls. They're not just looking for shots in the immediate Great Falls area. I mean, they prefer that, but anything that's oozes Montana, they're interested in. So, and that can include mountains too, by the way. It doesn't have to be. Well, Great Falls isn't that far from the mountains. Obviously, that's not going to benefit you so much, Addison, but I am working on some kind of hospital opportunities and stuff. I'm keeping my eye on things out in North Dakota as well. And there's one other clinic that's being built in Great Falls. It's a little bit smaller than what Benefits is building, but I know the architects on it, and so we'll have an opportunity to sell art there as well. So again, keep working on your scenics and your landscapes and your happy photographs. That they have to be something that is a little more spiritual, a little more uplifting. Beautiful flowers. I'm not a big person to photograph flowers, but they love flower shots. Anything that are green and vibrant, lots of sun, mountains, scenery, wildlife. All those shots work well in hospitals, and they are big buyers of art. And it's a very profitable opportunity for you to make some money. Big Sky Journal told me that they're doing a article. They're going to announce it here in a couple days. on weed harvest. It's going to be, for the autumn issue, which comes out like probably in a month and a half. So if you want to be in Big Sky Journal, I would encourage you to send me 2 or 3 of your best harvest shots, and I will and I will forward it. I'll put them all into one folder. You guys will be able to see it, and I'll forward it on to the editor of Big Sky, which pays really for a magazine quite well, actually. And you'll be paid based on the size of the photo that they run. So, again, going back to the email format. So here you would put, Big Sky Journal, and then the subject would be wheat harvest or harvest, and then put the date, and then and show me a link to the photographs. That would be helpful. Billings Clinic is another hospital. Some of you talked about it, but I don't know if I've seen anything, lately come through on that. So, I mean, I could put photographs today that are scenic and beautiful of Montana out in front of Billings Clinic. So, don't waste an opportunity to get me those photographs and to shoot me an email to remind me of some maybe you already have sent. But I'm pretty sure I've seen everything that's out there. But if you have sent something else out for me to review, let me know, and then I'll go it over with you. And because I got a meeting with Billings Clinic here in about 2 weeks, and I want to be able to get your art out in front of them. The other one is Central Montana Medical Center. That's in Lewistown. Most of you aren't in that area. Kaylee, you're not far away, actually. They go beyond just like Fergus County. So, that area that's like north of you, over the divide, started getting into the Harleton area and Rygate and stuff. If you got anything out that way, some nice photographs, let me know, because next year they're going to be looking for shots. They're already talking to me about it. And also, if you're just out and about, if you head over that way, maybe you're going to a rodeo or something over that way or something, don't forget to, try to grab some nice scenic shots, because they'll be looking for a lot of them at their new hospital as well. Distinctly Montana, I'm just wrapping up an article with Kayla's photographs for an article there on the Kramer Ranch near Big Timber. We haven't discussed yet exactly. We've got a plan which was outlined already 3 or 4 months ago with what they want to run, but they haven't told me exactly if that's a lock yet for the next issue, which won't be for another 2 months. But as soon as it is, I'll be sure to email and let you know. So there's some stuff coming up. If you guys know of things that have a great story, and I can give you some examples, that you want to photograph, or you think would be good for that magazine, then let me know. And I'll give you some examples. And some of them aren't stories that I was able to get to because the publisher decided to run them too late, but they were good stories. Like, for example, there was a gentleman down in and these are like hidden gems, right? They're not like on everybody's radar. Like this Kramer Ranch story I did with Kayla is astounding. Here's a guy who basically revolutionized the world of rodeo, and there aren't a lot of people talking about it. It's just a great story. Another one is about a gentleman down in Townsend who, for the last 50 years, was carving duck decoys. And maybe that's not an important, like a earth-shattering story, but it's so photogenic. I mean, with his room full of all the materials and his the tools that he used to carve and the paints he uses and stuff. It's just a very visual feast and stuff. And I've been bugging editors for years to do that story. And then about the time that, Distinctly Montana comes calling and says, yeah, that's a good one, go contact him. The guy passed away. So, I mean, some of these are, stuff that, the opportunity dies. It goes with it. And so, I mean, part of me, I'm a fan of history, so I'm a little more saddened by stuff like that. But you know, there might be a unique place that, I mean, unique places aren't so great, but like for example, the one story that I did that was really well liked, and this might pertain to you, Kayla, and of course, Alexis. I just don't know, you're part of the state as well, so you can jump in too. But the one story I did that received the biggest reaction, which I don't understand because I thought it was very dry, but I did put a lot of effort into the article and the photographs, was the Shonkin Sag, which is a geological formation that exists, you know, between Great Falls and um, basically Fort Benton and over to Coffee Creek and um, Geraldine and that area, you know, north of the Highwood Mountains. And it's where a dam gave away one, you know, many times, you know, back in the prehistoric time, and just completely carved out an interesting terrain out there, including a place called Lost Lake, which has, you know, people can't really go see it very much anymore. But it basically, Lost Lake is what the night back then would have looked larger than what Niagara Falls looks like today. And basically, Lost Lake is just a former lake bed, you know, where there was a waterfall with water gushing from the melting or melting off the Highwood Mountains. It would rush over the edge of this area. So, you know, geological formations, people seem to be interested in that. You know, it could be like, you know, Alexis, potentially it could be the Gallatin Range. You know, that it's a beautiful set of mountains. You know, we got to have art that goes with it. And some of these stories are stuff that requires, you know, months and maybe even seasons to produce, to create, but you might already have photographs in your library. Another one that I, you know, got the green light from them was these women up in Chinook who every Thursday or every Wednesday night, they would bake cinnamon buns and from the senior center, and they would sell them at their senior center on Thursday mornings. And you'd have all these cowboys, literally cowboys, lined up to get cinnamon buns, hot cinnamon rolls in the morning. They were freshly baked. And it was just, I knew I could photograph in such a beautiful and pleasant way. And I bugged magazines for 10 years to do it. And when they're finally ready for it, you know, they stopped doing it like a year ago. They couldn't find enough people to bake buns anymore. It got to be too tedious. So if you know stories, if you know ranches like the Kramer Ranch, who are, you know, have a great Western story that might be in your neck of the woods. And I mean something that's historic, right? They don't have to be wonderful ranches going on now. It could be a ghost town. And I don't mean the ones that everybody knows about, you know, like Virginia City. Everybody knows about places like that. I'm talking about subjects that are maybe only locally known. You know, so Kayla, when I was thinking to you that you know, we talked about the big coulee, that formation that's, you know, north of you, you know, between Ship Rock, what's it called, Steamboat Rock? Did I say that right?
Locomotive
Rock, between there and through the, you know, that area through there is also a unique geological feature. And there isn't a lot about that online. And it's something that can be, you know, you can make beautiful photographs of that, I think. So, you know, if you have a body of work related to that area that can demonstrate everything from what the plateau looks like, which would be great, because, you know, up in that plateau, you got a beautiful view of the crazies from up there. And, you know, what it looks like in the valley, a very rich, I assume is a very rich, fertile valley between there and Rygate. You know, tell the story of the, so I could, or someone could write a story about, you know, and I've already sent an email years ago when I stumbled across it. I sent an email to the head of the geology department. I have a contact in the head of the geology department at MSU. And I asked him, I asked a bunch of questions about it, and he told me exactly how it was formed and all that stuff. So there's a story that's waiting to happen. So, you know, and this allows you guys to follow, if you have a love for landscape photography, you know, to kind of follow that little bead. And then there's the Indian petroglyphs near Lewistown. There's I mean, I'm looking at your name. Addison, of course, this doesn't benefit you, but Addison, the same. I mean, I have contacts at the North Dakota. I think it's called just North Dakota Magazine. So, I mean, if there's things like that for you too, Addison, right? And you want to, these magazines will take your photograph, are much more likely to take your photographs if they have a story that accompanies it. So now, with Addison, you're into marketing. So, maybe you'd be at home writing a story, a 1,500 or 1,800 word story about some subject, or any one of you. And if you are, that's fine. I'll let you write it. You get the whole check, But if you just are interested in the photography, then, tell me where the stories are. Point me to where, things that would, and they don't have to be a great visual story. I mean, the story just has to be good, right? If it's one of those like is better told than photographed, don't discount it. If it's one that's better photographed and told, still tell me about it. I mean, I'll pitch the story, and it gives you an opportunity to get the shots in the magazine and get published and get more jobs that way. The magazine jobs don't pay a ton, but they lead you to additional sales. So that's the key and that's part of the secret formula for getting more work. The more you're in magazines, again, they don't pay a ton, but when you are, it leads to print sales. It leads to other customers in your region who read the article and they see your name and they know you as a photographer in the area. So be thinking about stuff like that. If you've got some, shoot me an email with your ideas, or if you want to call and talk about them and bounce them off of me, I'm happy to work with you. There's some exciting things happening at the Montana Department of Commerce. I had a 2-hour call on Friday that lasted after business hours, which I couldn't believe, especially for somebody who's a state employee. I guess the governor came down on, or not it's not the governor. But somehow the state legislature came down on the Department of Commerce, which runs the Office of Tourism, and said, you need to focus more on rural Montana and less on, Glacier and Yellowstone. So they have it written into law. Law was actually passed where they have to spend a much greater percentage of their dollars promoting rural Montana. And that basically includes eastern Montana, central and eastern Montana, basically east and north of the mountains, so to speak. So that's great. Maybe not so great so much for Alexis, but I mean, Alexis too, you're in striking distance of, that also includes, basically Townsend to White Sulphur Springs and, that area through there. So it does include you actually. So, again, I don't know. I'm not sure that this is how you shoot. I suspect, Alexis, you do. I'm not sure about Addison and Kayla and the rest of you, but, and the rest of the people that aren't here, but if you are like I was, early on in my photography career, or when I was using a camera where you would just hop in a car and go make photographs, then be thinking about, travel related shots that pertain to Montana in your parts of the area. And there's going to be an opportunity for those. Another opportunity that comes from this is that they are looking to create a program, and this was through my suggestion. And it's finally got wheels where they're talking about the higher ranks. And she goes, I hope you know that this is going to happen. I said, well, that's great. And I said, how can we help? So the program is going to be basically, it's called, I'm not sure what the actual project name will be, but I use the term rustic roads. And what Montana is going to do is they're going to build a website that is dedicated to the most interesting drives in Montana. Well, obviously everybody thinks of going to the Sun Road and they think of, the Beartooth Pass. No. And there's a few others that are kind of a cliche, right? These are roads that maybe people haven't heard about in some of the, more rural parts of the state. And they're going to be graded based on difficulty. So if you're on pavement, right, the whole time, that's like easy. Anybody can drive that. You can drive that with a car. But then there's going to be some roads that are a little bit more, there may be gravel, but maintained gravel, and that's fine. So those are a little bit more moderate difficulty. And then there are those like, and I don't know how to, you guys all know, roads like this, I suspect, that are maybe closed in the winter that go over a mountain pass, or they're like, you better be well versed on being able to use a four-wheel drive pickup truck in the backcountry and have all the safety tools in place. The one I'm thinking about is Confederate Gulch that goes from, I don't know, Alexis, have you ever heard of Confederate Gulch? It's kind of over in your
I've heard of it, yeah.
It's basically from, have you been to Townsend yet?
Oh, yeah. I've spent a good amount of time in Townsend.
So do you know where that church is, that church where they do weddings? It's like an old church. Everybody thinks it's been there for years, but it hasn't. They just plopped it there. But just north of the lake, kind of when you go north of town, you hang left, there's like a prairie church, or it's like a prairie church right there. Somewhere
it's like
there,
right by the lake.
What's that?
It's like right by the lake, and it's white.
Yeah. So there's a turnoff right there that goes basically north and over the big belts. And it goes up to Confederate Gulch was a place that used to be a huge gold mine. And, it wiggles through the mountains and it comes off the back end. You come out of Gypsy Lake and you come out of White Sulphur Springs. And it's, it's not a place that for the faint of, it's not like hard, right? You better know how to use a four-wheel drive pickup truck. You better not go out there with a car. And just in case, you better have a means of, in case something happens and you slide off the road, you better know, what to have a plan B. Let's just put it that way. But most of the roads aren't like that. But there are some out there like that too. So how does this benefit you? Okay, so we're at the beginning stages of putting together a quote and I told them, I got this team of photographers and people, and so it's multi-layered. Number one, this program, they're going to reach out to the counties for where these roads are. But if you know where they are too, speak up. In fact, where are we? Oh, come on. Why am I not seeing it here? Oh, because I'm not in the main drive. So here, I already started for the sales pitch. Did I put that? I must have put it. Well, color me. Maybe it's in the main area. Well, I'm gonna have to search for it later. I apologize. But I've already been laying out these routes that I know of out there that I've traveled over the years. So we'll be responsible for coming up with a nice photograph on each of those routes, or 2 or 3 or 4, depending on how important it is. And then the program, not only will they have a website for it, but they're going to put signage on the route. So as you come to an intersection where the road begins or the route begins, the scenic route, there will be a sign that'll say, Montana Scenic Route. And so there'll be both everything from, paper material that'll be sent out to promote it. There'll be a website, there'll be an app, and there'll be signage along, the route. So people, and then when you turn there, you get a sign that says, 8.2 miles, and they'll have the name of it. They'll give it a name. So there's the first aspect is number one, photographing it. Not a lot, but just some good photographs of it. Number one. Number two, these are roads that are often not traveled by Google Street View. So we are going to build the apparatus that gets fastened onto your vehicle that can move from vehicle to vehicle to vehicle, where you drive the route, right? And it takes a 360-degree video of the entire route, which ends up getting spliced and then uploaded into both Google Street View as well as the website. So that's income stream number 2. Income stream number 3 is related to, I was talking about, working with you guys and stuff like that. These movies are looking for new and commercials and stuff. The whole Yellowstone thing has blossomed the whole film industry's interest in Montana, and they're looking for unique places to photograph and stuff like that. And so they're thinking about going out and rephotographing, some of these locations across the state. And I was starting to point out locations to them that they're like, we've never even heard of that. So we haven't figured out how we're going to tackle that one just yet, but there's going to be opportunities to go out. They said to go out and photograph these places that might work good in a commercial or a television or movie or something like that. And the last one is, and I'll have details on that, you guys will each be given an opportunity to sign on to the website and become listed as photographers that the movie sets might use for scouting purposes, or what they call recce work. Recce work is a British word for reconnaissance. I've been hired several times to do recce work for everybody from the BBC to ABC Television to the same production company that did Duck's Dynasty. They hire you to kind of go out and find shot locations or talent for what they're, for whatever programming they're looking to do. And they need scouts to go and, get photographs of, they'll say, go find me a red barn near Billings. Photograph, a bunch of red barns near Billings because we need to do a shoot near a red barn for a movie. And so it's cheaper for them to hire someone local who knows the area than it is to send someone out from Hollywood or wherever to go out and kind of guess where things are. So you also can get paid being a recce person or a field scout, for some of these productions companies and stuff. So it was a real exciting telephone call. I don't know where it will go, but it sounds like the rest of, and this is all fitting with the legislature's goal to spend more money in rural Montana. So on marketing. So since that's kind of what we do, right? And there aren't a lot of people who specialize in, rural Montana when it comes to things like photography, we should have a leg up on some of this stuff, I hope. So make you aware of that. And I gotta get going faster here. Montana Department of Agriculture, again, and nobody's like leapt forward with this, but if you've got shots of like boutique, any of your agricultural shots can be purchased for the stock photography library, and which means you get a residual on those. I think it's $1. Don't quote me on that. It's like 50 cents to $1 per photograph per year that they'll pay you guys to to make your photographs available for them to use for stock photography. Number one. Number two, I still have money in the account to go out and have you guys go photograph something that's more of a boutique, nature. So that can include, pulse crops. It can include harvest or where it's barley, not wheat. Don't think you can shoot wheat and play it off as barley, as I found. No, it's got to be barley. It could be canola. Any of those crops that are still being harvested and stuff. Or if you already have them, right, just send me an email that says Montana Department of Agriculture and has, says, stock photos and, the date of your email. Or, you can't put your date of every photograph that's in there, but, upload them and let me know that they're there. And again, I haven't had anybody, I think one of you did. I have to look about the Montana Department of Agriculture calendar, but this is the last call for that. If you guys want to be in their calendar, then, I'm not looking for a bunch of photographs. I'm looking for ones that you consider to be like, 4 or 5 that you consider are your best, that tell the story of rural Montana in a very seasonal and photographic way. If you don't have those, that's fine. But if you do, let me know. We got the account. Took a long time. For Northern Pulse Growers Association, which represents Montana and North Dakota. So I think Aston's going to go out and photograph some more Pulse stuffs. And the rest of you, if you have an opportunity to photograph Pulse, go do it. And you get paid for it. Chickpeas, dry peas, fava beans, lentils, lupins, whatever a lupin is, I don't even know. I think it's a purple flower, and I think that season's already passed. But this is going to be a recurring job. We're going to have an account of between $4,000 and $5,000 to pay out to photographers every year for the time being. So be thinking that stuff. And by the way, there'll be opportunities this winter. So if you guys are into portrait photography, they're going to be looking for shots of people eating or using pulse crops in certain ways, cooking, that kind of stuff. So it goes beyond just what we do in the field. Montana Office of Tourism Regions, we talked about this in the last meeting. By the way, these notes I'm going to email out to you guys. I wanted to include for you, let me zoom in, I hope this zooms in, map for the state of Montana where all the travel regions are. So the green area is central Montana. This is called, the yellow part is called Missouri River Country. This is called Southeast Montana Country or region. Down here is Yellowstone, called Yellowstone Country, literally. This is Southwest Montana, the blue area, and the orange area up here is called Glacier Country. So the importance of this map are where the counties are. And they're important because the photographs you make in these areas that are very travel-esque, okay? And by the way, I forgot to add this on here. I will. I'll give you a long list of what those subjects are that they're looking for photographs of. And they pay rather nicely. I mean, if they do a large photograph on there, you could pay upwards of $500, $600, even $1,000 for some of the photographs that they buy. This comes through funding that comes also from the state. So if they're following through on promoting rural Montana, that means, they're going to be needing a lot more photographs of things in this area. But it goes more from just, landscapes and wildlife. They want photographs of things like events, like fairs, county fairs, or, any, travel-related event that might be out there. They want photographs of it. This, by the way, also shows, if you see the stars, that's where convention and visitor bureaus are located. So when these photographs go into these regions, they're also being looked at by these separate entities, like in central Montana, where I have most knowledge. The Great Falls Convention and Visitors Bureau and the Havre one will also license the photographs. So you get, other opportunities for money. So Alexis, as you can see down in your neck of the woods, lots of convention and visitor bureaus down in your neck of the woods, between Belgrade and Bozeman and Big Sky and Gardner and Red Lodge and all that area, and if you're fly fishing in any of these areas, those are great shots that they always like for travel magazines. And by the way, going back to the whole fly fishing angle again with you, if you're interested in that fly fishing tour, so to speak, in Montana photo tours in Great Falls or in White Sulphur Springs, let me know offline. So control minus. I already know the photographer is going to be the lead on that. By the way, I mentioned that I've got a friend who does nothing but fishing. Did I mention his name to you again, Alexis? Paul Grossenbacher. Remember that name?
Yeah, I think you did mention that.
Yeah, so I'd like to, get you and your boyfriend maybe to meet him and stuff, and he might be interested in even use you as an assistant on some of the shoots he might have up in the area. So let's talk about that a little bit more offline as well. These are the dates for when they're going to be doing their photo calls. Central Montana is July 15th. It's already gone out to you guys. Yellowstone Country, I sent one out there too. I need your photos by next week. So if you have any from the Yellowstone Country, which is down here from basically Gallatin County to Carbon County, Stillwater, Sweetgrass County, so from like Melville down to Big Timber, this area, if you have beautiful photographs of this area, please let me know. Shoot me an email, upload them online, shoot me an email, tell me where they are. If you already have them, you can set them aside through some other means like Google Photos or some other way. I don't care how you get them to me, just so I can see them and get them, whatever is easier. Glacier Country is, I'm not sure we have anyone over there. We have Adriana who's over in Conrad, but these are some places you might travel to, right? So it doesn't mean you don't have to live there. If you spent time, on a vacation in Dillon, or you spent some time on a vacation up in, Eureka or what, I don't know. We have Montana's, we have relatives all over the state if you're from Montana. So, you're not precluded just to submit photographs just for your region. The glacier countries will be on October 15th. Missouri River country, which is up here in the yellow and southwest, are all around October 2nd and October 15th, also southeast Montana. So keep that in mind. Range Magazine. I want you guys to go and, by the way, I'm going to warn you in advance, okay? We never use politics here, and I'm not about to. I don't care what your politics are, and I hope you don't care about mine. But Range Magazine does skew right. It's conservative, but my opinion on, and I'm not saying I'm either one. Okay, I'm not going to tell you my politics. It's unimportant. I don't care if you're red or blue. I care if your cash is green, and I hope you think the same way. So, and when somebody from a political organization I disagree with comes to me and asks me to license my photographs, I absolutely do it. I only charge them more. So, by all means, I just, if you want to sell photographs, and Range Magazine is good from the standpoint that it elevates you to shooting for some of the better magazines that are more secular and are better produced. So there's reasons for being in that magazine. But if you go there and you sign up, you get a free copy of the magazine, and I'm going to work on getting you guys free subscriptions if you want it beyond that point. But the benefit of having this is so that you can see the type of photographs that they use in Range. Okay. The first thing you're going to notice is that the photographs aren't great. They're not awesome. So that's good. But it means that we have a better opportunity to sell them photographs. But you'll see the kind of photographs that CJ, who's the editor, who is a wonderful person. She's a little out there, I admit it. But again, she gives you work, not just through her magazine, but she produces books every year. She has been, by the way, she has been in the magazine industry for like 40 years. She was employed from magazines from Cosmopolitan to, super big name magazines, by the way. She has a wealth of knowledge with regard to the magazine industry. And she knows what she wants. I don't think it's a very well laid out magazine, but she insists that her readers don't want something that looks all fancy new. They want something that looks old fashioned and is that way. And she has a very, very loyal group of readers. Something like 150,000 readers every issue. So again, if you're, shoot Western style photography, you want to get paid for it, please don't worry about the politics. Don't just let her do what she wants in that regard. Just look at the photography and see, get some ideas for how you photograph things. And by the way, especially ranching shots, that is the one subject in Montana that you can still photograph through the winter and make money on. Those shots, those magazines like Range all want shots of like men and women on the plains and the mountains and ranches working in winter. They like the wind-blown shots and the snow flying and cold and, the cows that are crusted with frost and, cowboys wrapped up in big red coats. And some of them are cliches, but, if you have Kayla, I don't know if is your husband a cowboy, Kayla? Kayla, are you there?
Oh, whoops. Yeah, I was muted. Yeah.
Is he? Well, then, okay. So you want to make some money? You go and buy him one of those big red wool coats, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tell him not to shave his beard this winter. And when the snow flies, when you got your old Christmas tree, you got to take it out. Have him tie it up to the back of the horse and drag it across the plains on a nice day and make a bunch of photographs. You can sell those photographs all day long. When you're calving, have him carry a calf while he's, or whoever your model is, right? Have him dress the part and have him carrying a calf on the horse with him, like he just saved it or rescued it. I know it's a cliche, but you know what? People buy prints of that. People want them in magazines, and I'm just saying. So I'm not saying you have to do it. I'm not even suggesting you should. But if you want to like get in magazines and want to make some bucks on the side, some of those cliche shots sell very well. So, Strategy 360. Jessica is working a job for me there down in south of Great Falls. Problem is, we've been waiting for 2 months for them to finish putting up the new road signs, and it's just been a nightmare. That's the bad news. The good news is that they will have at least 2 more jobs elsewhere. I'm not sure where they are. If they're down in your area, Alexis, I'm not sure, but they'll have a few more jobs there in the state. Now, I know that doesn't pertain to you, Addison, but having you out there, just so you know, Addison, I am going to be on some of these clients I have in Montana. I'll be making contacts, through fall and winter out in North Dakota to help get you some more sales out in your neck of the woods as well. Strategy 360, by the way, is a nationwide company. And so they just gave me the contact information for their contacts in North Dakota. So hopefully there'll be opportunities for there too. United Grain Corporation, the big right there. I haven't got a green light yet on some new photo shoots, but what I am working with them on, which helps us all, is we would take over there. I'm working with Miranda on this, their social media stuff, and that requires photos that they would be licensing. So we got a big proposal that's going into them early next week, and hopefully that'll pay dividends and will result in some stock photography sales and some more photo shoots for next year for sure. The next Photoshop meeting, this was Jessica's suggestion. I'm not going to go too deep into this, but she thought this would be beneficial. Last time we talked about instead of Photoshop, I forget what we talked about last time. It was basically composition, I think. Whatever, I forget. But this time I'm going to focus on sales, and it isn't related to Photoshop, right? But I'll share a little bit more of my secret sauce with regard to sales and sales communications and negotiation. So, by me giving you this information, it kind of works against me. But I know that, it might benefit you as I deal with a lot of questions from you guys with regard to, how much should I charge for my photographs? And because when people contact you privately to do a job or stuff like that. And I can I don't know if my way is the right way, but it works for me. So, if you want to be on that next, it's in 2 weeks, that call, and you can take it or leave it, but I'll spend some time with how the life of a sale I'm going to go through and, show you what happens when somebody contacts me. And I'll even share with you the actual correspondence that I use when talking to them, including, by the way, and this one I will, I don't have any qualms, sharing at all, is what if somebody steals one of your photographs? And what do I do to make sure I get paid? So we're going to go through that next meeting. That's all I've got. So if any of these are ones you're interested in, again, you don't necessarily have to reach out to me right now and say, okay, I'll get you, get me photographs right away. If any of these topics I talked about are interested in you, then shoot me an email tonight or tomorrow saying, I want to know more about this, or I want to learn about this, or I'm interested in this. So I can add you to my file of who to reach out to when that happens. Okay. That's all I got. So are there any questions? None? If you do, shoot me an email or call. You can't call me afterwards. I actually got another call I got to jump onto, but just let me know. Okay. So that's all I got. I appreciate your time, and we'll talk later. Okay. All right. See you guys.
Thanks, Todd.
Yep. Bye.